The mic is live. Everybody's talking. The mic is live. The mic is live on us. It's always live. The mic is 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 live. There's just so much hypocrisy there. The Republicans have to, if you really want the Democrats to work out, you have to come with open hands and open heart. The mic is live. The mic is live. The mic is live. The mic is live. The mic is live.
People say to you, wake up black man. People say to you, wake up people.
The mic is live. 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 I've been waiting out there, man, for 3 years. The mic is live. The mic is live. The mic is live. The mic is live. The mic is live.
And the only people in the world, we are not allowed to talk to each other. Behind everyone else.
What's up, family? It's your man here, Leroy Adams. (2018), rocking it with Parliament Funkadelic in the background, making my funk a P-Funk. We are live for the year 2018. Gonna get some time for people to come in the chat room. You know I always come out here a little early. I'm coming at you on a different device, so I hope everything works out okay. My phone's been acting a little janky, so. But we here. We all in it, family. Good to see you guys. Hope everybody had a good and prosperous New Year. We're gonna rock out to P-Funk for a little bit. We got a couple more minutes to go. One more minute to be precise. And then we're gonna get into our broadcast. Rocking it, setting it off 2018. We made another year. Man, sometimes you look back and you wonder how you made it this far. It's been rough, man. Ain't gonna lie. So I hope you guys join me. We're gonna start in a second. Give some people some time to log in, come into the chat room. Hope you guys had a good New Year's. We spent it here with the family. Just sat here and chilled, ate some food, some good fish and healthy vegetables, trying to do it right. And you know how we do. The mic is live, ladies and gentlemen, 2018. And we're gonna get this popping off right. We didn't come out last weekend. Like I said, it was New Year's. We was trying to get things ready, get the preparations ready and everything, so it is what it is. It is what it was, and it was what it does. But we had a good time. Chilled here with the family. Happy New Year's, Babs. How you doing? Faithful Babs, always on the scene. Love you, sister. Thanks for joining me. So we're going to kick it off here. It's about that time. It should be about 2 o'clock right about now. Yep, 2:01. You know how I am. Hopefully more people will join us, Babs, as we get rocking. The mic is live, 2018, first podcast of the new year, and we are so blessed to be here. It's cold outside. We got hit by that record-breaking storm. They called it the bomb storm because of the way the pressure dropped. Love you too, sis. Yeah, it was a wicked storm. We got hit by some very serious snow up here. It was freezing. I tried to go out that morning and put the top on the car so I wouldn't have so much to clean off, and my fingers almost froze off. I was out there for, like I said, about 5-10 minutes. I had to come back in. So it's cold. It's cold out there today. Bundle up. Stay warm. If you don't have to go out, don't even bother. Just stay in the house, man. Grab a cup of tea. Grab some coffee. Grab your loved ones, whoever, and just curl up under the cover. As they say, this is baby making weather. So if you're in that mood, man, don't even go out, man. It's cold out there. I got frost around my windowsills. It's so cold. But you know, our thoughts are with the many people out there. You know, as we start off the podcast, we want to send a shout out to all those thousands of New Yorkers out there. Some people up here in Yonkers. I was watching this a newscast today about just some buildings in Yonkers don't have heat, don't have hot water, and this has been a problem going on with the New York City Housing Authority. They're not getting the services. Our people aren't getting the services that that our tax dollars are paying for. And you know, this needs to be investigated. People need to start going to jail, man. You know, it's a daggone shame how, you know, it reminds me of the situation in Flint, Michigan, with the water situation. And I still can't understand how that governor and a lot of those people didn't go to jail behind that, man. We're paying these people our tax dollars, and they're getting away with basically robbing us blind and putting us in life-threatening situations. There are thousands of people all over New York City right now without heat, without hot water, and as Babs put in the comment there, 35 degrees, 17 degrees yesterday. Can you imagine living in that situation? You know, you paying your taxes, you paying your rent, you know, and it's hard paying these bills, man. People are scrimping and saving and scrapping and paying these bills, and we're not getting the services we deserve. Our elderly and our children are forced to live in these conditions, man. You know, and this is a new year, and that's the topic that I wanted to talk to you about today. A new year, a new you, a new me, a new us, and we got to start holding people accountable. You know, the people that we're paying to give us these services, man. The repair people are getting these contracts, you know. The cronies are giving out the contracts to each other, and they're not living up to their responsibility. And we got to start holding people's feet to the fire. There's no reason in the world why people are living in 35 and 17 degree weather, and it's oh, that's how it is in the South. Okay. But it's cold up here too, so it's probably colder up here. I think it's in the 20s up here today. Yesterday it was like -2 or something like that. But you know, you got people living out here with no heat, no hot water. Meanwhile, the fat cats are sitting back living large off of our tax dollars, man. You know, we got to hold people accountable and start making them step up and do the right thing, you know. I'm not going to be too long today. Usually I try to go an hour. I might go to an hour, I might not, you know, but this is the first podcast of the year. We're going to be doing some things differently. We're going to be having, trying to get some people to come in and talk with us and share some knowledge. We're going to be looking at trying to make things a little bit more informative in terms of business. You know, people who want to start businesses. You know, we're going to have the information in terms of certain things that affect our community. We're going to bring you the stories that affect our communities. So far, so good. I haven't heard of any young men being taken out by the Gestapo this year. So this year started off pretty good. Let's hope that it continues, that we don't have to take to the streets this year. You know, let's hope that the community policing efforts pay off, and the police stop looking at us as we're the enemy when we are the community that they are sworn to serve and protect. So far so good. We don't have any sad news on that note. To my knowledge, you know, if anybody knows of anything, please let me know so that I can spread the word out to the listeners. we've had a nice start to the year. Things are looking good. You know, a lot of changes are coming down. When you look at the rebroadcast, you'll see that I revamped the opening credits to the podcast. We've been in contact with some of the officials up here in Yonkers that run most of the concerts in the summer. So we're finishing up a audition video for them, and hopefully we'll have some summer dates to invite you guys out to come hear us perform and do our thing. But, you know, once again, the mic is live. This is 2018. We are blessed to see another year. We're blessed to see each other. And I'm so glad that many of us made it. We did have a few people that didn't make it across the threshold. We want to send a shout out to them and peace and love to the family. There were a couple of fires. I know there was a fire up here in Yonkers and White Plains where a young lady lost her life just before Christmas. We understand that there was a triple homicide in Long Island. A young man went in and killed his grandfather, his mother, and a family friend, and his sister, I believe. They say he was a sturd, but that's usually the case. You know, when it's one of us, they call us thugs and lowlifes and criminals, but when one of them do something, oh, he was mentally disturbed or whatever. But, you know, we don't want to rain on nobody's sadness. You know, let's, you know, remember that we're all human and give a thought of humanity to the family and the pain that they're feeling. So there were a couple of people that didn't make it across the threshold. So, but we want to send a shout out to those that didn't make it and to their family. Also in the news, while we were talking about the cold weather, did y'all know that Baltimore had to close several schools because they didn't have heat? You know, these kids were in 20 and 30 degree weather trying to learn. You know, it's just a shame the way they do our children, man. And none of the news services talked about it. None of the major networks talked about it. They had to close these schools in Boston, like several schools in Baltimore, I'm sorry, because there was no heat. Baltimore, from what I understand, the officials sent back federal funding for heating and services to their schools, and these kids were basically left in the cold trying to learn, you know. Can you imagine trying to do mathematics in 20-degree weather with your coat on, trying to stay warm? You know, now our kids are home. They're not getting the instruction that they need, the day-to-day instruction that they need. They're at home waiting for this situation to remedy itself. And it's a shame. Once again, as I was saying, we're paying these elected officials to take care of business for us, you know, and now it's affecting our children, you know. They're not getting heat and hot water at home. They're not getting heat and hot water in school. A lot of these kids are poor, man. When they go to school, that's the only, you know, that's the lunch that they get for the day, and they're not getting that now. You know, they're not getting the instruction. They're not getting the food. They're not getting the nourishment and the nurturing that they deserve, man. You know, we got to get on the ball and hold people accountable, but I'm going to get back to that in a minute. I just want to drop that story on you, you know, that Baltimore had to close down several schools because the heat's not there in the building for these children. Children suffering through the cold and the winter. You know, that makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. You know, you don't have to live in Baltimore to voice your opinion about this. You know, sometimes we get caught up in this regional thing where if it's not in New York, it's not in Alabama, it's not in Florida, it's not in Kentucky, well, I can't speak on that. But yes, you can, from the humanitarian standpoint. You pay federal taxes like everybody else. And this is federal money that they sent back in Baltimore, and as to the reason why they came up short on providing heat in these classrooms. And when these kids aren't getting instruction, when they fall by the wayside and they need federal help and they need federal monies to subsidize their living conditions, then that is a part, you know, that gives you a say-so in this. So we got to let people know, man. I don't care what city you in. You know, you hear about stuff like this. Let your voice be known. You know, I always call local officials when I hear something going on in different parts of the country and let them know that this is unacceptable. This cannot happen. This is the year 2018. Children should not be in classrooms without heat. People should not be in their homes waiting 3 or 4 hours for a repairman that never show up. You know, not with my tax dollars being paid in these salaries. And we gotta let our voices be heard. We gotta let our voices be known. It's that simple. Because if not, it's gonna be business as usual. You know, the rich are gonna get richer and the poor are gonna be shitted on over and over again. And we gotta let people know that this is unacceptable. Also, in the news, the slave trade is still happening. You know, I was just thinking earlier, there are stories that I'm coming across that when I was a kid, I would never have dreamed that in my lifetime, my children and my children's children would be dealing with. You know, you look at the situation in with North Korea and the United States right now. You know, I remember, I know I might be giving away my age, but, you know, I know a lot of y'all remember those stupid ass films, Duck and Cover, and the nuclear bomb drills, when we used to have to go outside and stand against the wall with our coat over our head. Like that was going to do something if a nuclear bomb was going to go off. But I just remember the fear, living it with that fear, man, going to bed every night thinking, is this going to be the night Russia decides to do a sneak attack, you know? And now it's just funny how, you know, daggone 40, 50 years later, our children have to deal with those same thoughts, man. You know, this is 2018, and the slave trade is still happening in Libya, you know? And the United States is partly responsible for what's happening over there. They went over there and killed Gaddafi. You know, this was a man, you know, I don't care what people might say about him. You got to look at the reality. Gaddafi moved his family into the desert, into a tent, and said that they will remain there until every person in Libya had their own house. There was a free education system in Libya, free medical system. Every person in the country benefited from the oil that was being sold in that country. That was a government by the people, for the people. And they killed this man, created a vacuum, and now Libyans are being sold into slavery all across the Mideast. And mainly those people that's dealing in Saudi Arabia, they're the main ones trafficking in the slave trade. And not only are they being sold as free labor, but these Arabs are also carving them up, selling their organs. Some of the same ovens that Hitler used are back in operation now. This is happening in 2018, y'all. People are being sold into slavery. People are being sold for their organs. And to cover up their crimes, they're burning them and hiding their crimes. This is for real. I understand that Israel is giving an ultimatum to the Africans that are in their country. Now these are the same people who want you to never forget what Hitler did to them, yet they're doing the same thing in 2018 to the real Jews, if you really want to know the truth. Okay? Back in the late 90s, they got all of these Ethiopian Jews to come into Israel, told them, oh, come on, you're our Jewish brothers and sisters, come on, we're going to treat you like family. When they got there, they stripped them of their wealth, stripped them of everything they had, made them vagabonds, basically, made them fight in their funky army, and now they want to deport them all. All right, this is going on in 2018, y'all. The slave trade, this mass exodus of human beings, this mass exploitation of human labor, mass exploitation of human body parts, sex trafficking. Okay, the murder, the murderous cover-up, the genocide. You know, this is what's happening over there in Libya and Saudi Arabia and the Middle East. We need to be aware of this and make our voices known. You know, we need to make the UN, this so-called world body, stand up and take notice of these things. You know, like I said, these are things that I never would have dreamt that in my lifetime I would have to be dealing with and voicing an opinion about and letting people know. But I guess it's the human condition. Wherever the human condition is, you're gonna find these things. I got Parliament in the background doing their thing. If the music is too loud, let me know. But that's Parliament Funkadelic. As you can see the logo, Parliament Funkadelic. Everybody know who Parliament Funkadelic is. Okay. Also, I understand that the African American unemployment rate has hit a record low in December, but it's still higher than our white counterparts. And most experts are saying that it is due to racism, discrimination, okay, and this reinsurgence of white supremacy that the orange one has ushered in this new era. You know, it's good that the unemployment rate has dropped somewhat, but the reality is it's still higher than our white counterparts. White males are still employed at a faster rate. White females are still employed at a faster rate. So there's still work to be done on that front, even though the things have gotten better. And let's not get it twisted. You know, people are looking at the stock market and they're looking at these different economic indicators, and they're trying to attribute it to the orange one, but what you really can't do. You know, politics and the economy is a lot like music. Okay, you sit and you practice, all right, as a musician. It's not what you're doing at that moment that shines, all right? It's what you did 6 months ago. It's the practicing that you did 6 months ago is what's going to come through in the art that you present at the gig, all right? And that's the way politics work. So you see, all these indicators that are changing and things that are changing for the better has nothing to do with what this man has done, all right? We're not going to see the results of what he's done until another year or two. What you're seeing now are the results of what Barack Obama did. Just changing the economy, the reinsurgence of the stock market, the drop in unemployment, that has to do with the last 8 years of Obama's presidency. This is what this man is riding on, and he's trying to take credit for it. We will see the effects of what he's done this past year and this year in another 2 or 3 years or so. And I guarantee you it won't be pretty. So buckle up. We're in for a bumpy ride. Let's be for real about it. Also in the news, the Oregon governor has appointed the first African American judge to the Supreme Court. So we want to give a shout out to our sister Adrena Nelson. She is the first African American to be added to the Supreme Court of Oregon. I understand she was a great lawyer, great judge, and now she has moved up a notch. And we want to send a shout out to her, a shout out to Oregon for their progressive moves, and we hope that she takes her responsibility seriously, and she is well represent the culture and her people as she takes a giant step forward in the judiciary arena. So congratulations to her, and kudos to the governor of Oregon for being progressive in their thoughts. This next story I hate even mentioning because I'm getting sick of all this sex scandal stuff. I'm very, I've had it, it's like every other day you know, and it gets to a point, you know, and I've always said that, you know, I never like to, you know, look down on people or try to belittle the victims of sexual harassment. But it gets to a point, you know, especially after the Tyler Perry, I'm not Tyler Perry, Tavis Smiley story came out. It gets to a point where this becomes a witch hunt. You know, you get a lot of people jumping on the bandwagon just to get what they can get. You know, and I've said this before, and Dave Chappelle sort of made, in his latest comedy sketch, talked about it, you know. You know, you get a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, this is not to delegitimize the real victims of sexual harassment and sexual misconduct. But there are a lot of people out there that are just trying to get a little piece of the action, you know. You know, it's like every other day a new face is coming out. And I'm like, well, where the hell was you like 10 years ago when this happened to you? You know? Like, what's up with that? You know, I was talking to my friend the other day, and it's like, well, you can't judge them because they were afraid for their job or whatever. To me, you know, you're telling me that you sat there. I know, because one story was some chick talking about that comedian, I forgot his name, but she said that he forced her to sit there and watch him pleasure himself. Some other lady was talking about she was forced to listen to him over the phone. And I'm like, wait a minute, like, how does somebody force you to listen to them over the phone? Like, you know, I gotta ask a question here. You know, I can understand, you know, if you came to me and said, well, he overpowered me, he was stronger than me, I tried to leave, but he held me down and he forced himself on me, or I tried to leave and he locked the door, he barred the door. But you backstage in a club, and you gonna tell me somebody forced you to watch them pleasure themselves? Or somebody's on the phone pleasuring themselves and you couldn't hang up? Come on, man. That sounds suspicious to me. That sounds like you was down with the move and you ain't get what you wanted. Uh-huh. Yeah, you can't, you know, exactly, Babs. You can't give nobody a friendly hug, or you can't even, the days of being spontaneous and freaky is over because you know, you want to do something spontaneous and crazy and hot. You can't do it because you don't know where it's going to end up, you know? So I'm like, how can someone force you to listen to them pleasure themselves over the phone? How can somebody force you to sit and watch them pleasure themselves? That, you know, people like that, I'm sorry, I can't get with it, you know? And I've walked away from money for just on principle alone. You understand? So when somebody tell me, oh, they were afraid for their job, so they gave up their principle and they just basically felt threatened because of their job, nah, that don't fly with me, man. That don't fly with me. You know? You got to have more self-respect than to talk about some job. Tell me he put a knife to your throat, he held a gun on you, he locked you in, or he overpowered you. But don't tell me you sat there because you was afraid for your job, because to me, you just as culpable. Because you sold your principal out for a paycheck. When the truth is, if you went and reported it or sued, you got so much money, you could have lived good for the rest of your life. You know, and this is not to condone the misogynist culture that tries to sweep this stuff under the rug or condone it. I'm not saying that. Don't twist my words. Don't twist what I'm saying. Don't get off on the, oh, you victim blaming. No, I'm not. I'm saying that you got to have more fortitude about yourself than to sit there and watch some dude pleasure himself or listen on some phone just because you're afraid for some funky job that you can go and get somewhere else. I'm sorry, it just don't fly with me. It don't fly with me. That's all I'm saying. But having said that, our brother Ben Vereen is the next man in line to be accused. Ben Vereen is being accused of sexual misconduct when he was in the play Hair. You got a lot of young ladies coming out now saying that he so traumatized them that he nearly broke them and destroyed their careers. You know, I'm like, you know, it's kind of hard, ladies, when you coming out 10, 20 years later. You know, if you feel somebody violates you, you got to step up and you got to voice yourself. Damn a job, you know, damn a paycheck. Because like I said, if you step up and you sue, you'll probably make more money than you'll ever see in your whole lifetime. So stop with that. I'm afraid for my job. I'm afraid for my position. I don't want it to ruin me. No. If some creep is touching you, bothering you, and saying and doing things inappropriate, step up and let somebody know so they can get what they deserve. A royal beat down and ruin in the career and profession that they're in. Don't wait no 10, 20 years later and then come talking about you was afraid for your career so you didn't say nothing. That don't work, man. That don't work. It just don't work. All right, finally, in the news. My heart is broken, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I know I always like to big up my brothers. You know, when I speak about brothers, when I come and I share some historical data with you and some historical knowledge, you know, I always like to quote my sources. And some of the brothers that I always talk about, I have a great love for and great respect for. There's our brother Tariq Nasheed. You often hear me talk about him. If you go back and listen to my old podcast on my YouTube station, you'll see that in just about every podcast, I'm always mentioning Tariq Nasheed. I often talk about Umar Johnson. I often talk about Dr. Boyce Watkins. We often talk about our brother Sabir Bey, very knowledgeable brother in terms of law and history. And it just broke my heart, ladies and gentlemen. This week, I turned on my YouTube and was scrolling through, because I always like to look at, you know, Advise TV, another brother. I always like to catch Tariq Nasheed's podcast. He does a podcast and he does a radio show, Ism Radio. And I just happened to come across Tariq on a rant, man. Our brother Tariq Nasheed, the producer of the Hidden Colors series, he was going in on Umar Johnson. And I wasn't fully aware of what was going on at the time, but now it seems that they got a beef going on, you know, between Tariq and Umar. But Umar is not only going in on Tariq, he's also going in on Dr. Boyce Watkins. One of the rants, he also mentioned Sabir. You know, like I said, these are brothers that I quote. You know, these are brothers are like a source for me. When I want to research or, you know, if I want a quick reference on something that I'm researching, you know, and it just hurts my heart to see them at war the way they are. You know, Tariq is feeling a certain kind of way. Umar is feeling a certain kind of way. I saw Dr. Watkins, his response to some of it. You know, I didn't hear Sabir respond to any of it, which I don't think he is. If he did, you know, I didn't see it. But Sabir, from what I understand about him from the podcast, and whenever somebody come at him or attack him on any level, I've never seen him like go at anybody, you know. And when somebody, like when I'm watching his podcast and somebody say, "Oh, somebody so and so said such and such about you," his response is, "I don't want to hear it," or "I don't care. If they got something to say, come say it to me." And I respect that about him, you know. But the others, they're going in, you know, they're going in on each other. And to me, it's just sad, you know, to see these great minds attacking each other, you know. And, you know, as things progress, I'm kind of leery about Umar now. I got a lot of respect for the brother, but there are things that are coming out that's making me give him side eye, and I would not encourage anybody to invest in that school of his. There are things coming out about his statements that he's been making that doesn't seem to be true. I still got a lot of respect for the brother. I think he's very knowledgeable. I think he's very articulate. But there are things that are coming out now that's making me. I would be hesitant to recommend anybody donating to his proposed school or to believe him to be a certified psychologist like he's been claiming. This is not to take sides in that beef. I personally, when I saw what was going on, I saw Tariq's broadcast. After I heard what he had to say, I researched the podcast that Umar put out. I heard what he had to say. It disturbed me so much that I put a personal message out to the Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I don't know if he got it yet. Usually when I send him a message, I get a response. I don't know if it's automated or if somebody's monitoring it or what, but I've put out messages to him in the past and I've got responses. But I put out a message to the Minister Louis Farrakhan and asked if he could intercede and talk to these young men, bring them to the table, use his knowledge, his wisdom, and influence to bring these young men to the table, because we have very few scholars that are locked in and focused in on the truth and are educating our people, specifically our young people. And Umar Johnson, like I said, even though I'm leery in terms of recommending people donate to a school as such, but he is very knowledgeable, and a lot of young people are influenced by the man. A lot of young people are influenced by Tariq Nasheed, and the Hidden Colors series has educated a lot of young people as well as old folks. And Brother Watkins, his business school, Your Black World, very influential in terms of black businesses, helping people start businesses and things of that nature, so I just feel that it's very detrimental when brothers like that can't come together. And as the Book of Psalms says, it is good for the brothers to dwell together in unity. And whatever the beef might be, I just hope and wish that they could either go their separate ways, leave it alone, or come together and try to heal the wounds that have been inflicted through this thing. Because like I said, I respect all of them. I don't necessarily agree with all of what they got to say. There's sometimes, I listen to them, and sometimes, the egos can get in the way. People say things and do things out of ego. I have a lot of respect for Tariq. I have a lot of respect for Hidden Colors and what he's done with his businesses and how he's encouraged people. But then there's sometimes he say things, like a lot of times I would like to tell a young person, hey man, check out this brother Tariq Nasheed. But then when I listen to some of his podcasts, I'm like, whoa, I can't have a 15, 16-year-old kid listen to this. Some of the things come out of his mouth, the way he be cursing and But again, this is not to say that I don't respect the brother. I have a lot of respect for my brother, Same thing with Brother Johnson. I have a lot of respect for Umar, but then I got a question like, why is the state checking, looking into your license and saying that you were never a licensed psychologist when you were going around telling people that, And same thing with Brother Watkins. He might say something, and I might say, I don't know, boys, but that doesn't mean that he's not a great economist and that he can't help, gain some knowledge, you know, when you're looking to gain that knowledge to start a business. You know, so, you know, again, I got a lot of respect for those brothers, and I just hope that they can, you know, come together and iron out their differences, or like I said, go your separate ways, man. You know, because all this woofing on the net and in this public discourse, it's not doing us any good. You know, and that's the whole basis of my thesis today. A new me, a new you, and so that we can develop a new people. You know, we've got to look at what's going on here. You know, as I spoke about the story in Baltimore, you know, and these kids in the cold weather, and of course the white supremacists are basically trying to attack Black Lives Matter and say, well, if y'all can get up in arms about that, why y'all not up in arms about, you know, these kids being cold? We are up in arms about it. And the thing is that this is nothing but a retaliation of the people standing up and voicing their discourse for what the police have been doing. And that's another thing that we got to be careful about. You know, they are going to ratchet up their movement. You know, all these little side attacks and these little things that are going on in the country right now are nothing but the white supremacists trying to get revenge for the last 8 years of respect and dignity that Obama brought to the White House. You know, and the people standing up against police brutality. You know, a new year, a new you, a new me, and we got to renew our responsibilities. We got to renew our responsibilities, men. We got to renew our responsibility to our women. We got to renew our responsibility to our children and to our families. You know, we got to renew our responsibility to ourselves. You know, living clean, living healthy, you know, thinking healthy, you know, thinking responsibly, you know, not chasing the dollar, but making the dollar chase us, developing our talents and our skills. We've got to develop ourselves to the point where we become on demand, like our fathers and our forefathers were. Same thing with our women. You need to renew your responsibility to yourselves. Okay, a new you. You know, you don't have to be shaking your butt on the internet to get attention. That's not what a queen does. That's not what a man looks for in a queen. All you are is a jump off or a side piece when you do that. That's all you'll ever be. And if you do have a kid with him, I guarantee you it's by accident. You're not the one that he wants to bring home and introduce to mom or grandma or the rest of the family. If you don't have the dignity and respect about yourself. So sisters, you got to renew that respectability to yourself and to your children. And as I always say, you are the fertile seed of life. And that's not only in deed, but in word. You know, check your word, my sister. You know, check your word. When you speak to your man, speak life to him. Speak life to his dream. When you speak to your children, speak life to them. Speak life to their hopes and their prayers. All right? A new you, a new me, a new people. 2018 has to be our year that we turn this thing around. We got the midterm elections coming up. We got to get out there, for those of you who believe in voting, and vote. Make sure your voice is heard. You know, call your elected officials. Like I had to get on those people out there in Queens. There's no way in hell. No way in hell that Jamaica Queens, Jamaica Arts Center isn't run by our people. Jamaica Arts Center is in the South Jamaica, South Side Queens. It should not be run by anybody but South Side individuals. The music programs, the dance program, the martial arts program, all the programs in there should be run by our people. And it hurt my heart when I went out there a couple of weeks ago to see the condition that place has fallen into. And hear the horror stories of some Japanese woman or Korean woman, whatever she is, running our center in the heart of our community. A cultural arts center should reflect the cultural arts of the people that it represents. And there's no way you'll be able to go to Little Italy, Chinatown, or the Jewish section of Brooklyn and find a black man running African programs in their art center. There's no way. There's no way in Hades. But they got some white women teaching our kids Snow White and all these other little fairy tales. Whatever happened to Anansi the spider? Whatever happened to the tales of Shaka Zulu? Whatever happened to the African drums, African dance? The history of the Zulu warrior being taught in martial arts, the stick fighting that came out of Africa, the fact that Bahedama, the first Buddhist monk, was a black man out of Africa that brought the martial arts from India to China. This is what I mean. We have to take control in 2018. We have to take control of what is ours. And we have to let them know that we will no longer be subjugated to somebody else's interpretation of what we are and what we're supposed to be. It's just that simple. We need to stop with all this religion and become more spiritual. See, my problem with religion is that we get so bogged down in the dogma of the ritual that we lose sight of the beauty of the spiritual aspect of what the Creator was trying to instill in us. Religion is a very finite thing. Spirituality is infinite. And once you understand your spirituality, you understand your connection to yourself, your loved ones, and your community. And we've lost that connection, ladies and gentlemen. And we need to regain that connection. A new me, a new you, a new people. And we can't do that by holding on to old religious rituals that were given to us at the point of a gun and at the tip of a whip. Spirituality transcends that. And that's why I'm not a religious individual. I'm a spiritual individual. My religion is not more important than my spirituality. My spirituality evolves, and if I evolve, my religion will evolve because I will change my practices as the evolution of my spirit sees fit. So I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. Let me check my time here. .244. It's about time for me to get out of here. So I'm not dumping on anybody's particular belief system. All I'm saying is become more spiritual in your belief. And don't let your religion hinder or stifle your spiritual growth. Let your spiritual growth be a guide for your religious practice. Alright, so I'm going to get out of here. But before I go, you know I got to give some shout outs. I want to give a shout out to Raven Mirono, formerly known as Raven Flife. She turned 28 years old today. Shout out to her. Shout out to her father, my longtime friend Mike Flife. His CD is still on sale. If you can, The Atomic Drummer, pick it up. Tangi Rivera, old-time friend from the old neighborhood in South Jamaica, Queens. We want to send a shout-out to her. It's her birthday today. Another shout-out to Christina Rodriguez, one of my students from Bronx Expeditionary Learning. It just kills me how, because I stay in touch with a lot of my students, and it just kills me how, great they're doing. A lot of them are very successful, very professional. They got professional careers, their mothers and fathers, and it just blows my mind to know that, but it's in a good way, that, they're very, they're taking what we were laying down in terms of not just the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s, but just about life, being a good person, being a responsible father, a responsible mother, a responsible human being and citizen. A lot of them are doing the right thing, and it just does my heart good to know that that they're looking to the future. They are the future, and it gives me hope. Also, my ex-student Steve-O Lewinsky, she had a birthday on the 5th, I believe. And Osmary Castillo, he's one of the people that I'm talking about. I didn't even know, but he's an NYPD officer. You know, and you look at these kids, man, and you know, when you're in high school, when they're in high school and you're teaching and you're wondering like, what's the future holding for them? And you know, I would never thought Asmari would become a cop, but he's out there doing this, keeping the community safe. So big up to him and happy birthday to him and Steve-O. Happy birthday to my longtime friend, Professor Ernest Gothwaite. He was my professor in York College, a great artist. He does a lot of great paintings in gold leaf. He uses like real gold leaf for the amber effects of the sunset and grass. And this guy does amazing work. He hires me sometimes because he does these great big installations where you actually walk in and you're a part of the experience. And he hires me sometimes to produce music for it. And I want to send a shout out to him and blessings to him and his family on his birthday. Shout out to George Washington Carver. A lot of people know George Washington Carver was a great inventor. He took the peanut, broke it down genetically, and showed that there were many different uses for it. Peanut oil, peanut butter, peanut salve, peanut brittle, peanut whatever. George Washington Carver was a great botanist. He did a lot of work with soybean and other plants. And December 5th was George Washington Carver Day. And we want to send a shout out to the great scientist, Nubian scientist George Washington Carver. On my way out, unsung hero of the day is the late, great trumpeter Dizzy Gillespie. Dizzy Gillespie was a jazz musician from the 40s and the 50s. He grew up playing music. He was one of the greatest horn players of all time. The story goes that he was in Count Basie's band. No, not Count Basie. I'm sorry, Benny Mucha. What's my man's name? Y'all know Cab Calloway. And Cab Calloway got mad at her because him and some of the other band members used to always go and get high. And one time, Dizzy was such a cut-up. Diz would be in the band cracking jokes and doing stupid stuff, and Cab fired him. They said Dizzy chased him with a gun. Them guys were crazy back then, man. But y'all know Dizzy Gillespie. He's got the signature horn with the bell of the horn pointing straight up in the air. Another story says that there was a dancer that fell on his horn and bent it in that direction, and he decided to keep the signature look. So we want to send a shout out to Dizzy Gillespie, our unsung hero of the day. If you're a young musician, I suggest that you do some research on Dizzy, especially if you're playing trumpet, and do some research on his music, cop his style, and make it your own. Listen, I'm out of here. It is the year 2018. We're going to take it by storm. We're going to do our thing, and we're going to make it. Listen, the mic is live 2018. And you guys remember what I always say. It still holds true today. Don't get so caught up in the lies that they're telling you that you fail to prepare for the reality that's about to come. And it's about to get real. The mic is live, ladies and gentlemen. We're kicking it off 2018. Peace. I love you all.
If you really want the Democrats to work out, you have to talk to open